How are we from heaven? Is an important question to ask. When I say we are to take dominion over the earth, not a contest for heaven, we are from heaven. To help you answer this question, how are we from heaven? We have to look into creation. And in creation, I want to look into the Bible. I believe that, and I've taken many classes that talks about other form of creation. When you take Bio 558, it talks about other kind of creation. And I believe that people also have this intelligent design or creationism, which is different from the biblical creation. But I want to take you to the book of Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Genesis chapter 1 verse 26. Let's read the 26. It says that, and God said, let us make man in our own image and after our likeness. Pause over there. Underline image and likeness. When you are born by a parent in a land of America, you are an American, aren't you? So when God made man in his own image and after his likeness, who are we? Heavenist. We are from heaven. We were made by God, who is from where? Heaven. So we are not now going to heaven. We are from heaven. Let me break it down. I believe that there is some people called the reductionist or the reductionist theory. The evolutionaries, I will come to them. The reductionist theory says that looking at a complex system at its smallest particle size or level, or when you are looking at something complex in its smallest particle, what made that complexity of that system? For instance, human beings are made of cells, tissues, organs, and the system I see. The system you see here are made from cells. And under the cells are other things that we need to look at. The cells have mitochondrium in it. They have nucleus in it. They have all those kind of systems that are working in there. Very tiny things that forms a bigger object. And when we go beyond that, we have chemicals like nitrogen, oxygen, chlorine. We have carbon. We have potassium and sodium and all of the above. So let me prove your mind. When God was creating, the Bible says he formed us from the dust of the earth. Pause. The dust of the earth. The earth is made up of nitrogen, potassium, oxygen, hydrogen, and all that you can see on your periodic table. Because the plants that are planted on those soil need those things to survive, to be able to give forth good fruit. If it is a flower, to be able to blossom and give you a nice, beautiful flower. They need those chemicals. That is what the soil is made of. And that is what God formed us from. So already we are from the reductionist theory. If you don't understand, we are from the reductionist theory, where we were made from those chemicals, nitrogen, which was in the soil that God formed us with and breathed the breath of life, which is oxygen in the first place. Let's go to the evolutionalist theory. Charles Darwin said we were formed from the apes. A big bang happened and we came out of the apes. There was a little tiny transformation from the apes from years and years and years, and they changed and they became human beings and we came out of it. And I have studied that extensively, and I have also taught about evolution in my youth class just to disprove certain things that are in evolution. I have seen that fish develop a little fin extra from the original fish. Like a dolphin can have an extra fin that will make them look different from the original dolphin. They can have other features that can make them look different from. That doesn't change their originality of being a dolphin. They don't change from being a dolphin to become a shark or a tilapia or a red sniper. Right. So with that said and done, we are reductionist. Because God is a scientist himself, and he is science himself. Because of time, you can go and watch my other videos that I talked about. God is science, and he's a scientist. Don't play with him, because you already know this time will come that people will try to disprove these things. So he made us from the soil, which is made up of the chemicals that are in us. So we are reductionists. We are made from the reductionist theory. God was doing it, but he did it in a different form from what the scientists will understand. This pushed me to another point where in the book that I'm reading, the book is called The Design Revolution. And in the Design Revolution, chapter 2 of the Design Revolution, it talks about creation. And it's beautiful that it talks about creation. But it says the scientists, it talks about intelligent design compared to creation and creationisms. So in there, it says that the scientists came to God and said, we can do what you do. And God said, like what? And they said, like making human beings. And so, okay, then go ahead and do it. And they said, oh, we start with the soil. And God paused them right there. He said, the soil was made. It is already in existence. So make human being from nothing. And they could not. Because they cannot make human beings from nothing. They have to depend on what is already created. You understand? So the beauty of the whole thing is scientists cannot be God. So after doing all of this creation, I just wanted to answer the question, how are we from heaven? This is why we are from heaven. We are from heaven. We were made by God, who is from where? Heaven. So let's go back to the original purpose of God, creating a nation of heaven on earth, creating a government, his strategy, a government of heaven on earth. And his aim was to create a colony of heaven on earth. And his objective was to create a culture of heaven on earth. But don't forget the definition of nation. A nation is a group of people on a common land who speak a common language with a common jurisdiction, a common value, who have a common God or a common government under one God. So, who were God actually creating or forming this nation with? God was forming a nation with the human race. And I can't emphasize this enough, that there's no other race than the human race. There's no types of race like the white, black, brown, or whatever. It's all the human race. Human race. There's no other race. How can you call colors as race? The race can have different characters, different shapes, different colors. It doesn't make the colors a race also. They are under the race. I can be an American and learn other languages. Or I can be American and don't play American football. Or don't like American football. Doesn't mean I'm not an American because the football is called American football. I have to like it because I'm American. No, I'm still an American, but I don't like the American football. The great mighty nation is formed from these things that I have mentioned. The definition of nation. Never forget about the definition of nation. And a great mighty nation, and all nations of the earth shall be blessed in him. Who was him? The nation that God was creating. So it means there were other nations that all other will be blessed in that nation. So when I said God original intent was not to create churches, but what? To create a nation. And as we learned in our previous segment, that the account of the Adam, the account of the Moses, and the account of Abraham, we saw that. But let's go to the account of Joshua. In Joshua chapter 24, verse 12 to 15. It talks about, it said, choose you now the God that you want to serve. Is it the God of the Amorites or the God that you were introduced, your forefathers served? Your forefathers served at the other side of the flood or the river. But me and my family, we will serve the Lord. So it is very important that the nation have one God or submit to under one God. Like I was saying, when you are born in America, you are an American citizen. When you go to another country, they might want to change your name. Sometimes they do. Sometimes they want to change your way of life, which is true. As I mentioned, laws in other country has to be obeyed as the other country that you are in. When you come back to your country, although that things were legalized or were right in your country, it is not right in the other country. You have to obey it. But it doesn't have to change the content in you, because if you're an American, there are certain things in you that makes you an American. Doesn't mean that you should be going to disobeying laws, but there are certain things in you that makes you American. Maybe your accent, the way you talk, the way I talk makes me feel that I'm a Ghanaian. I don't speak like any other person, but I speak like a Ghanaian. And so, as a Ghanaian, there are some values in me. There are some norms, that there are some behaviors, there are some characters, there are some way of life that are in me. They are embedded in me because I have the genes. It doesn't change. But obeying the nation that I am in now's law does not make me that nation, people of that nation. Do you understand that? So when we are from heaven to take over this land of the earth, doesn't make us from this earth and contesting to go to heaven. If you are from somewhere, going back there, you don't need a visa to go back there. If you are a Ghanaian, or if you're an American who went to Nigeria, or you went to Italy and you are coming back to America, you don't need a visa, do you? No, you don't. So if you don't need a visa to come back to your own country, you think you need a visa to go to heaven? Because you're already a heaven citizen, a heavenist. So you just go there when you want to go there. You are from heaven. You only came here to take possession and to rule over the fish of the sea and the birds in the air and every creeping things upon the earth. Authority, governance. So you go back to your citizens' land without any struggle. So if we are going to position ourselves as a heaven citizens, then we will not struggle doing the things that God wants us to do, because those things should be already embedded in us. How is it embedded in us? You see, when God created things, He gave them law. And when He saw that the law was not being followed, they couldn't obey the law, He came down and He died so that He fulfilled the law, so that we can also do it, giving us the chance, the enablement, the ability, the power, the strength to be able to do as He did. I said the laws of God or the commandments, they are statutes. They are not touchable. They cannot be changed. No matter how much you want to punch it, it doesn't change. Your hand will change though. It will start bleeding. When we are from heaven, we don't need a visa to go back there. When we talk about the evangelicals who came to Africa to overtake the land, most of them were pastors, men of God. They came there to spread the gospel, but they ended up, because of greed, want to take the land, want to take the beautiful things there. They deviated from the mission of which they went there. When you read the book of 2 Chronicles chapter 7 verse 14, it said, if my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways, I will hear them from heaven and heal their land. He did not say heal the individuals. He said their land. God is important. The land is very important in creating a nation. You have to have a land. It's the land that have the storage of sickness and viruses, not the people. There are some viruses or there are some diseases in America that are not in Africa. And there are some diseases in Africa that are not here. It means that the land that has the disease, not the people. You understand? So healing the land is very important to say. That's why he didn't say healing the people, but healing the land. People have used the whole system as an organization to fill their pocket. It started from colonization. They went to Africa to win souls, and they ended up winning gold, diamonds, and all of that because of greed. A word to a wise is enough. I'm not going that way. So the original mission is to make nations. How to build a nation? By when you building a nation, it's like building your own house. Your house is a nation for you. Your church is a nation. A church has to speak one language. How do I say one language in a literal term? You don't go say something different to Kojo and come and speak something different to Kwame, who are doing the same job. There will be a confusion. You are not speaking one language. You are lying to them. You tell this one this and you tell that one that, and you bump their heads together and they fight. You are not building a nation. You are breaking a nation. Your dissemination of information has to be clear. Language is not only English or Portuguese or French or Basari or Chi or Gan. That's not only the language I'm talking about. Language means that understanding, giving clarity, speaking the truth. How to break a nation? You already know, by doing the opposite of building a nation. By not having the same land, by not having the same value, by not having the same ideology, by not having the same jurisprudence, by not having the same language, by not subscribing or yourself under one God. That is breaking a nation. And in your household, if you want to create a nation or a nation that flourish, that prospers, then you have to have one language, you have to have one value, you have to have one jurisprudence, you have to have one government, and you have to submit yourself under one God. That's the only way you build a house. Your house is your nation. The reductionist theory, it starts from there. Building a nation starts from home. That's what the Bible says. If a man cannot take care of his house, how dare can he take care of the house of God? So the house starts a nation. The church community also is part of the nation. And then we goes to the society. We go to cities. We go to state. And then we form a nation, isn't it? That is using the reductionist theory. That's how a nation is formed. If you want to build a nation, you might have what? One language. And one language, I mean, not speaking English, Portuguese, French, Chi, Basari, or Italian, whatever, Spanish, whatever you want to say. They are languages. That is how we communicate. But there's an in-depth one that is called language, which is how you speak to people. The truth. Your language as a leader in the nation or as a governor is not going to tell this one that and come here and tell this one this. Who has to work together? They bump their head together and there will be confusion. You are not speaking one language. So you can't build a nation like that. And the Bible says a man who cannot take care of his house cannot handle the things of God. The Bible says, search all spirit and know that which is from me. He was very serious saying that. It's very important. The Bible says, you shall know the truth and the truth shall set you free. This is how we build a nation. And this is how God wanted to build. And we'll go into depth when we're looking at the Old Testament, how God started building nations. How he started it. One, there was always kings, and he always gave them dreams and visions. Pharaoh had a vision, Nebuchadnezzar had a vision or dream that he forgot. But God always made it so much that there is somebody who is connected to him, who is in the government. You see, all the kings were instituted or were installed by prophet. Prophet Samuel installed David and installed Saul. When you look at it, when Nebuchadnezzar and Pharaoh dreamed the dream, it was Joseph, who was godly, who interpreted the dream. It was Daniel, who was God-fearing who told Nebuchadnezzar his dream and interpreted it. This is an answer to how are we not from the earth, but from heaven. We are created by God in his own image, and we are him on this earth to take dominion. See you next week. We'll be diving into the Old Testament and how God made kings and formed nations and ruled. So we'll look into that. And we'll also look at what happens when we disobey the God that we have put on our nation